is for all women like me and all those who love and support women like me. So I'll take off the lens of offense. Just take it off. You know, if you're a man listening to this message, just go ahead and take it off now. The Lord sent me to say this word before my audience, and that's just what I'm gonna do. I sat down with Holy Spirit and wrote a few things, so I will be reading off of my paper here. But in addition to that, there's some information that He wanted me to share. So this is about men. And for women listen to this, this is just some Holy Spirit led insight about what's going on sometimes. Before I start with the actual message, I want to say this about just maybe some misconceptions about who can say what to who about what. Okay, so sometimes we get this notion of the only people who can provide constructive criticism, critique, anything like that, feedback, instructions, are people who have dealt with the thing. I mean, who are, I don't know, experiencing a thing. Let me give some examples. I've heard people say that, oh, I'm not taking marital advice from someone who hasn't been married. But they're not understanding that there's wisdom and lessons that come through things failing. So let me break this down. A wise person is a wise person. Wise people can extract lessons out of things and apply it to life. So I could be married now with absolutely no understanding, no reflection of wisdom, no application. If me and my husband haven't been through storms and trials, I still may have nothing to give you to help you with your marriage, even if my marriage has lasted for 45 years. If my marriage has lasted for 45 years with smooth sailing, how can I contribute to you? In that way, I can't relate to you. I can't give you advice based off of wisdom from something that I haven't been through, because I haven't been through it. I've never suffered with, I don't know why this came to mind, but I haven't suffered with dealing with a brain tumor. That means for whatever reason, I haven't had to experience that lapse in health, right? It doesn't make me qualified to tell someone how not to get a brain tumor. If I never experienced it, I don't know what. I don't have wisdom to pull from anything. A marriage that hasn't experienced pitfalls doesn't have wisdom to pull from anything, because they don't know what they don't know. If I've only made good grades, I can't tell you how to pull yourself from making an F back up to a B. I don't know what it feels like to have an F. I don't know the depths of having the F. I don't know what gets you to have an F. I don't know. Okay, so some things you pull wisdom out of having experienced it. And when it comes to something like marriage, I know it sounds right, but I know it sounds right. I know it logically sounds right. Like, oh, this single person can't help me with my marriage. But the single person has probably failed at things so many times that they've been able to pull wisdom out of them falling. Does it make sense? I mean, I would love to believe that what I'm saying makes sense right now. The reason a coach that never made it to the league may be able to coach this high school player properly into, getting the recognition, getting the scouts, and getting to where he needs to be is because he was able to pull wisdom out of the losses that he went through. And that's how God uses us. God don't use perfect people to tell you how to be better. He used the people who went through the mud, went through the valley, went through the trenches to tell you this is what not to do. This is, I fell down here. This is how you won't fall down. So let me just bring this back to marriage, okay? So your single friend has experience of what happens when you cheat. They have experience of what happens when you mismanage money. They have experience of what happens, and that's why they don't make it to the altar. That's why they didn't make it to the altar. Okay. So right now, when you and your marriage might be going through a hardship, that friend that pulled that wisdom out of this is how this went wrong for me, I can tell you what not to do because I've been through it. I can tell you the potential outcomes to help you not have to go through what I went through. Okay, so my point is, don't brush people off because you think that they can't relate to you in a specific season or in a specific circumstance, because you don't know which tool they're using to measure where their wisdom is coming from. And in that, I want to speak about how sometimes we say these things that kind of logically make sense in society, but I just want you to think about this. Where does a measurement come from? If you're a pastor and you want to know whether you're a pastoring well. Are you the one who can say, I'm being a good pastor? Are you the one who makes that assessment? Or is it the flock? They're the ones who have to deal with you. They're the ones who have to receive you. They're the ones who have to apply whatever it is you're trying to, bestow upon them. They are the ones to assess whether you're a good pastor or not you. You can only see yourself. And of course, you think that what you're doing is good. Okay, let's take it somewhere else. If the conversation is, am I being a good spouse? I can't determine whether I'm being a good spouse based on what I think. I naturally, will probably think that I'm doing okay, doing a self-assessment. There might be things I never thought of that my spouse is enduring and receiving from me that I think I'm doing okay, or again, it's not in my scope to think about because I'm not the person receiving it. But if I go ask my spouse, what things can I improve on? They'll probably tell me some things that never occurred to me because they're the ones receiving you. So they are the ones assessing whether you're being a good spouse to them. Okay? You can't come to that conclusion on your own because you're not the one experiencing yourself. Your spouse is. Am I being a good parent? Your children are the ones experiencing you. They are the ones that can provide you with critique, feedback to better yourself as being a parent. The question is, how can I improve? Like, I'll even go on to say that, you might feel like, well, another parent will be the person to tell me, but the other parent is not a parent for your children. So like, honestly, your children will be the person to give you, your children will be who will give you feedback. Your spouse is who will give you your feedback of how you're doing. Your employer is the one who will give you the feedback, proper feedback on how you're doing, So now let me get to where this is going. The whole man and woman thing. I've heard people say this so many times, that a woman can't tell a man how to be a man. I agree to a degree. So this is what I would say. No, a woman can't teach a man and show a man how to be a man because a woman has never been a man. However, who is the receiver of the man? Who is the one who has to experience the man? The woman is the one who is experiencing the man. So, am I being a good man? You kind of want to ask the person who you being a man impacts whether you're being a good man, whether you're showing up as a full man. And I'm not saying that you can't ask other men that. What I am saying, in that type of dynamic, different people experience you in different ways. When you ask another man if I'm being a good man, it's more so like, am I being a good brother? If you're asking a woman, am I being a good man? It's based on the things that women receive men for. And it doesn't just have to be like in a spousal relationship. Like in any way that women in society are supposed to experience men. Are you showing up in that way? That's how you can assess. Maybe some of those ways are you showing up as a leader in a community? Are you showing up as, I don't know, strength, help, assistance, guidance in some ways? Are you showing up as somebody who can be dependable? Like, what do women in society need men for? That's the question. And then you ask the woman, am I showing up in that way? And though my topic right here is about men, it can be flipped the other way for certain of men assessing women. And what do you expect a woman to show up for in society? Is this person showing up in that way? That means, are they being a good woman in the world? Okay, but back to this man thing. Another thing, okay, who else do men impact? The youth. How are you showing up to the youth? The youth will be able to determine whether you're being a good man. That's probably going to come through as far as role modeling, as teaching, as sharing with the next generation, morals, values, things that they need to know. Also protection. Okay, we have roles that we are supposed to be performing in society, period, in this world of how we're showing up. All right, so I said all of that to lead into what I wrote about. The Lord led me to write this, y'all. Okay, men are taught that they need to be a leader and to be independent and to carry on that role before they are taught how to love, before they are taught to love. So if we're thinking about, from youth, boys. So again, like if we're thinking of who dropped the ball in this, is the people who raised the men. Every generation can be pointed at for something. And that's just part of taking accountability. Okay? So if men right now have not been taught how to love before they were taught how to lead and be independent, who taught them that? The adults, that brought them up. But the cycles have to stop somewhere, yes? So one of the issues that bring a lot of soul wounds, trauma, misguided leadership and representation is the fact that we're supposed to lead with love, and that's not taught first. The values and things that are taught first are strength. Again, independence. Men thinking that they have to do things and take care of things and solve problems on their own. But we're not talking about men. We're talking about how they're being raised to think. These are still boys that are being taught to think that you have to be strong. You're going to be a leader. You have to be tough. You have to be, people are going to have to depend on you. So like those mindsets are being brought up in them. I'm not saying that they are not mindsets to have. I'm saying the order is very misaligned. Because why are we doing these things? We're taught to have strength for who? We're taught to be problem solvers for who? We're taught to do these things for who? They're supposed to be for people that you love, right? The community. We're supposed to love one another. We're supposed to love our families. We're supposed to love our spouse. You're supposed to be showing up this way for people you love, but you're not being taught to love first. So it's like putting a cart before the horse. And that's how we end up having dysfunction. We end up having strength without compassion. We end up having more of a self-serve mentality other than a service mentality for whoever else that we're connected to. Because we are taught to do things without the how and the why. All of this stuff should be presenting for you to lead people because you love them. And if we're not taught how to love, things end up being misplaced. Things develop into abuse of power, abuse of person, abuse of resources. And what we need to know as parents, because again, this is a conversation of how to stop a cycle from perpetuating itself. What needs to be taught is love and the love of Christ. Because that is how we are taught what love is, how love feels. We can't teach the love of Christ. We have to bring those coming behind us up in the love of Christ. They won't experience the love of Christ if they don't know him. That is our job. Parents, to actually expose these children and show them Christ. Show them how to have a relationship with Christ so they can learn what love feels like, so they can first have the foundation of love, of relationship. This is what inspires you to do all of this other stuff, your relationship with Christ. If the child grows up into a man, it doesn't find Christ until they're 35, 40, doesn't develop that relationship, doesn't understand what love is, doesn't know how to love. I was listening to the radio the other day, and this man, I don't remember his age, he might have said he was 69, was talking about, or they were speaking about a man who had been, it was Clifton Powell. My numbers are going to be wrong because I don't remember. But the thing is, like, he had been married to a woman for X amount of years, and he admitted that he just now recently learned how to love this woman. And I don't know who taught him how to love a woman. I don't know what he went through to get there. I would love if this was a Christ story, but I don't know. But it's sad. A lot of people think that they know love and they know how to love and that they've grown up in love, just to find out when they actually find Christ in love and feel it and learn how to give love and what that looks like and what it presents itself as and what love is not. Then they realize that they weren't truly loved from the love of Christ for most of their life, and they didn't know it to give it. Now, how many years have been wasted of relationship with people without you actually valuing them the way that they were meant to value and having that reciprocated to you? So even though I'm speaking about men, this isn't just about men. This is evenly about women, being raised up and how we need to be raising up our children. But the difference is that it appears that women find it before men do. But us as adults need to stop all this faster. If you're watching this and you have grandchildren, you have influence in somebody's life right now, a youth, someone coming up. But if you're like the person I mentioned, that, you're realizing, there are some things that I have misplaced. Some values, some things that are causing me to not show up, just misplaced values that end up showing up in dysfunction because I didn't get the foundation right. then it's not too late to get your foundation right. We have to bring up and start um educating people to know, influencing people to know that their foundation needs to be in their relationship with Christ. When you have a true encounter with the Lord, it just opens your eyes and changes so much. And He's able to show you. I'm curious to see how many times the word love shows up in the Bible, and I'm gonna search it because it's so important, y'all. And I know it sounds so corny, and I know it just sounds like ooey gooey. You know what I'm saying? But when the thought of love conquers all and love fixes things, God is love. It have to be part of the system of your root of the tree of you that's being grown. And it needs to be part of the system of the root of the trees that are being grown up under us. So that they can come up and be their full selves to themselves and to other people. It's like, it's not until you actually have your encounter with Christ and feel the love of Him that you can put these things into perspective of how you should be showing up. And strength and, you know, the feeling like you have to be in the front as a leader and independence when you actually supposed to be dependent upon Christ, you know, actually. All of this that comes in front of and love for whoever it is that you're impacting these values upon, it leads to destruction and dysfunction. It just actually just really does. So what I wrote down is that a lot of times when we're raising up boys to be men, they are taught to decide and be self-assured before they know themselves. How can you be self-assured before you actually have an identity? What are you assured about? But this is what we teach young boys how to be. And how do you find your identity? Your real identity comes from Christ. But a lot of the youth now don't even know the Lord. They're self-assured about a mask or a facade or some unclean spirit that the enemy has sent them to cope with something they done been through. Before they know what surrender is, they're taught to be self-assured. Before they serve, they're taught to be served. See, all of this stuff is misaligned. We should be teaching youth how to surrender to the Lord early, not when they're 60. That should not be a concept. After you're married already. So how do you lead? You're supposed to lead from the Lord. How do you lead without first being surrendered to Him? How do you lead a family without being surrendered to the Lord? It's blind. You're blind. You don't know where you're going. When you're surrendered to the Lord, He's guiding the family. He's guiding you. So, like, again, this is misplaced. Our youth needs to be taught how to surrender before they can expect someone else to surrender anything to them. And that's in family, that's in people submitting to them, you know, as a leader in any function, as a boss, you know, of them having their own job, you know, captain of a team. And the last thing I wrote is that a lot of times our young boys that grow up to be men are taught domineering and imposing of wills, usually of their will, right? Of their wants, what they want, what they think, what they envision. A vision outside of the Lord is, I'm going to just keep going. Before they're taught honor and submission. Where do you get that from? Honoring and submitting to the Lord. This is why things end up so jacked up. When people are grown and they have employees or they have children and wives and they have, you know what I mean? They have flocks, sheep, because they're in ministry. And they probably went off of their own whim and weren't called to, because the Lord processes you through things first. But anyway, we all look for love before we truly know what love looks like. And the reason we don't know what love looks like is because the people before us allowed us to go out without ever finding love, that relationship of love that we were supposed to have in Christ. It's not just taking our kids to church. That is not a relationship. It's not just having Bible study. It's coming to your Lord with everything. Having that dependency on Him. Having that quiet, alone time with Him. Talking to Him. It's a relationship. Sacrificing, giving up things for Him. We are, unless you're teaching your kids to do that, you're not teaching them relationship. So, like I said, the cycle has to stop somewhere. The Lord sent me here just to say this, and that's all I got.